Well, good afternoon. It's afternoon here in Stockbridge, Georgia. That's where I am from and where my little home studio is. Let me see if I can get this volume up a little bit. We are live right now at 12 noon Eastern Time. Hope everybody's doing well. It's good to see so many online. Beth McCamey and David and Kim Crane and Laura Lane Hood. Uh, uh, Several people, friends, new friends, old friends, people I knew from college. So glad you joined me today on this little live thing that I do, whatever it is. I got a haircut. Can y'all tell? Finally, Georgia opened up all of its shops and tattoo part. I didn't, get a tattoo. I guess I could have tattooed my whole face. That'd been all right, I guess. But anyway, let's see here. Just looking at my thing here just to see what it says. But hopefully everybody can see this all right. Uh, Hopefully it's okay. So David Wayan, good to see you. I'm gonna put you right there. So anyway, I got my hair cut. I was gonna have my wife do it. Donna, Donna. I was gonna have Donna do it, and she said I can cut your hair. So we went and moved everything in the kitchen, put the chair in the middle of the kitchen, put the towel around my neck, and she comes in with these big old clippers. I thought they were gas powered. I thought you're going to have to crank them like that to get it to go. And I'm like, what? Honey, we ain't trimming hedges here. That's what I said. And then I noticed it was the dog clippers. People, I said, nope, 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 not doing that, not doing that. So I waited till Great Clips opened, went to Great Clips. They don't give me any money. Wish they did, but they give me no money. They just take what little hair off that I have. So David said he's headed to the barber. And David St. Alban looks good. And looks like you got them all cut. Yes, I did. I got them all cut. So, and David, I plan on calling you later today because I got your message. So thank you for getting back with me. But today's a good day. I'm excited about today. Things are opening up. We're doing a lot of different interviews. As a matter of fact, my little thing popped up. I'm doing an interview later today with Mark Hall of Casting Crowns. I'm doing an interview with Babby Mason to go on this show. I just did an interview yesterday with Michael W. Smith's musical producer and his wife, Anita Daniker and Jim Daniker. Anita, I've known for years and years and years. She used to do some booking for me, and she is also Tammy Trent. If anybody's ever heard of Tammy Trent, great contemporary Christian artist. She travels with her and does all of her road management and that kind of thing. So, but anyway, I don't know if this stuff has been affecting you guys like I have, but this came. I have spent more time in the last 2 months with my wife than I have, together in the house than I have for the whole 21 years of our marriage. I think. I'm just telling you. And this verse, I love this little Psalms and New Testament. It's actually from David Jeremiah. A friend of mine, Jim Skipper, sent me this from California, and it's a great little. It's called the Focused Life. Can you see that? Great little Psalms and Proverbs, and we read this every day. And this came across on the 20th, which was what is today, the 22nd, whatever it is, but in Proverbs, listen to this verse, and this is the New Living Translation. I love this translation. It says, avoiding a fight is a mark of honor. Only fools insist on quarreling. So I need to have that tattooed to my forehead while we're home so much. But anyway, things are starting to open up. I'm glad of that, and we're getting back to normal. That's what I'm calling it, back to normal. I also interviewed Brad Stein. He's a comedian. He's been on Fox News. He's been on Tucker Carlson's show. He's been on Huckabee's show. Does a lot out there. He's written up in the New Yorker magazine. Great guy, great comedian. And we're going to do some things together. And we're calling it the Back to Normal Tour. Back to normal. I haven't bought into the new normal phrase, and I'm not going to buy into that phrase. You can judge me or not, but that's just not my thing. So we want to get back to normal, get back to church, because listen, this whole separation stuff, I know that we're doing it to minimize the spread of the virus, but being separated is not biblical. In Hebrews it talks about do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together. And the Bible says where 2 or 3 or more are gathered together in my midst, I will be there in their midst. And so the Bible talks a lot about being together, and we need to get back together. So anyway, that's my little thought for the day. So, and Irene says, amen. Pastor Scott, I like that. I like how she said that. And I want to tell you guys real quick, we're not on the road, and I'm trying to sell things through our store. We still have items at ScottDavis.com/shop, SHOP, ScottDavis.com/shop. Go pick up a CD or a book or a necklace or a bracelet or something. That helps us stay on the road, helps pay the bills, helps us stay out there. And if you wanted to give something, right here's the way you can give. The easiest is ScottDavis.com/donate. If you want to go to ScottDavis.com/donate, I even put the PayPal on that page and the Square Cash and the Venmo for all you millennials out there. If you want to check that out, that's a way that you can donate if you'd like to. And of course, that helps. My wife likes living indoors and having the air on. That's for sure. But I want to get right into some pictures that I think are funny, either that I've taken or that I think are funny. And I've got a special interview, so don't leave. I got a special interview coming up with let me go back to live. Got a special interview, special one. My pastor of 30 years took a new position with the state of Georgia for church wellness. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. Well, the new guy that's coming in, Pastor Trey Brinson, I'm going to be interviewing him in just a few minutes, so stick around. He's going to join us, so hang on. So these are the photos that I think are funny or that I thought were funny. So let's start with this one right here. This was at Walmart. I should not be in this section. As a matter of fact, I think Quick Weight Loss, who's the people I lost all the weight from, I think they went ahead of me because they knew I'd be looking at these pies. Look at that pie. He looked at me and said, yeah, I'm disappointed in you that you're even looking at me. So, yeah, thank you. God is speaking to me through pies now to not be, to stay on plan. And I thought this was awesome. I love this kid's cast from the Avenger movies. That is awesome. What an awesome looking cast. It's not funny. I just thought it was a great cast. And then this one right here, it's a little theater in some town that says, just remember, someone out there is quarantined with their ex, with your ex. I didn't even read that. I thought it was with an ex, with your ex. That's true. Someone's quarantined with your ex. If you're single or if you're just single dating. Not for you people who are married, okay? So I should read those before I put them on there, shouldn't I? And then this one here was actual warning on tires. These are cheap tires. Safety warning, made in China. My mic's over here. Made in China. That's the safety warning. So anyway, and then we have, okay, this is just another reason. All you cat lovers out there, God bless you. God bless your ministry. Enjoy your cats. But this is another reason why I don't like cats or I don't want a cat. This is one lazy cat right here. I'm telling you, big time lazy. Cats are good with teriyaki sauce. No, I'm just kidding. So don't quote me on this one. All right, and then this one right here is just my dog. This is Boomer. It started raining the other day, and I just thought he looked like a rat. He looked like a rat instead of a miniature Aussie. And if you follow me online on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or any of those social web media things, you'll see my dog, Boomer, occasionally. So that is Boomer right there. So now I want to get to something serious if I can, because I'd love for you guys to pray. A lot of you have seen this on Facebook already, but my nephew, Chris Finley, had a new baby boy last week. Brand new baby boy. His wife, Stephanie. Beautiful boy. Little Jacob. But when he was born, apparently the way they described it to me, his heart has the two main, now don't quote me on this because I'm not a doctor, but the two main valves got switched. One's supposed to give oxygen to the brain, the other to the rest of the body. They got switched, and that's why he was born that way. And he had a hole in his heart, which kept him alive because the actual hole let the oxygen get to the rest of the body. So he was actually getting more oxygen after he came out of the womb than he was in the womb, but it was something they were going to have to repair. So they were debating, the doctors were debating, do we need to do surgery? We need to do open heart surgery. Do we need to wait a little bit till he gets a little bit bigger and see what happens? And I want to show you, here's little baby. Let's see if I got a picture of him. And let me move over here. Let me move over here like this so you can still see me. So that's little Jacob. Isn't he cute? He's cute. And but he is struggling. And then this is, let me put this picture here he is again. This is where they were getting ready for his surgery. So Thursday they had the surgery. Thursday, and this was the text. Thousands of you had responded, and I guess thousands have prayed. There was hundreds and hundreds of comments. You guys praying for little Jacob, and I hope you'll keep praying. But this is the text that he sent me after the surgery. Hallelujah. This is Chris that you see at the top there. Right. Well, anyway, if you can see it at the top right there. Chris Finley is his name, and that's Jacob Finley. Hallelujah, hallelujah. His heart is already beating on his own without the machine. Surgery was a great success. I know there's still a long way to go, but what a wonderful day. And I said, I'll keep everybody updated. He said, please, thank you. I thought that was wonderful. And then last night he sent me this picture. This is after the surgery. I'm going to put it full screen so you can see it good. But this is after the surgery. Little baby Jacob, he's on 10 different medications to keep infections down and blood pressure and all those type of things. They've got feeding tubes going through his navel to keep him going. They've got him on a breathing machine as he comes out of anesthesia, slower. So apparently babies come out slower out of anesthesia. And so anyway, just pray for this little boy, because I think God's going to use him in a great, great way. So if you could put on your prayer list, and I know there are a lot of things to pray for. A lot of people put stuff out there on Facebook, so many needs, health needs, financial needs. There's all kinds of needs out there. But I hope you'll be praying for little Jacob Finley. And if you can put it on your prayer list, that'll be great. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And you can tell your church, too. I know David's a pastor of a church in Dover, Ohio. Let them know. But, I mean, there's a lot of needs out there. There are thousands of babies just like that. And there are a lot of people going through cancer. A lot of people, with the flu, with COVID-19, all kind of things out there. We just need to pray for one another because, God's put us here to glorify him on this earth, and we could do that by loving him and loving other people. That's what we're here for. So if you think about it, I know you got a lot of other things to pray for, and sure, put post on here after this is over. Go ahead and put post on there of what we can pray for you about as well, and we'll pray for you. Don and I'll pray, and we try to get together every day and read. We go through the Psalms and Proverbs every day, and we go through Paul David Tripp's book, New Morning Mercies. Great book. Look that up. New Morning Mercies. Great devotional. We try to go through that every day and read the Bible and study those things. I've got a stack over there. If y'all can see, let's see, right there. So it'd be over here. That big chair right there is where I sit, and right next to it, I got a stack of Bibles right there. So we take all those and read them in different translations, different things, and and my wife and I discuss. I thought about one time because she's brilliant. I wish she would get on here, but she's shy. She's like, no, this is good alone time for me. I can be away from you. So I don't know, but I want to get right into the interview today. Trey Brinson is my new pastor at Eagles Landing First Baptist Church in McDonough, Georgia. You can go to eagleslanding.org. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can put that up here. So Eagles Landing, let's say landing.org. So if you want to see our church and if you want to hear some of the messages sometimes, go to eagleslanding.org. I know some of you already do that. not let this be the substitute for your home church, your local church. I believe in the local church. I believe you need to be plugged in to the local church. And I hope you'll stay plugged into your local church. But if you get a chance when you get home, after dinner, after lunch, after pizza, Waffle House, whatever, and you get back home before you nap, click on eagleslanding.org. I'm not saying that that'll help you go to sleep. It might, I don't know. But go to eagleslanding.org and watch some of the sermons there. But Trey Brinson is my new pastor, and I'm going to bring him on right now and talk to him. So let's get into that. So let me see here. All right. Well, I'm excited to have my brand new pastor. You know, a week or two ago, I interviewed my former pastor. Well, he's former now, Tim Dowdy, and a lot of you watched him online around the country from our church services. And about him retire. He's not really retiring. He's going to be a member at our church, but he is also working with the Georgia Baptist Convention for church wellness, and still going to be attending our church. But he is passing the baton on to a new guy, and I have the privilege of talking to Mr. Trey Brinson. So, Trey, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. I'm fine. We had a little technical difficulty getting this thing together, but we're together. I'm in my home, my little home studio, and you're at the church in your new office. I'm guessing it's new office. You're getting that all settled in. So, first of all, tell folks a little bit about you personally, because you're kind of a Georgia boy, right? Originally?
I am originally raised from Warner Robins, Georgia, so I spent about 18 to 20 years of my life there.
Your story is really unique because people thought you were a Christian already. Tell a little bit about your background, how you grew up, and how you came to Christ.
Yeah, so my family was, I guess, divided, if you will. In the fourth grade, my parents got divorced, but my sister came to know Christ, and she lived with my mom. I lived with my dad, and she started inviting me to church constantly. You need to come to church. You need to come to church with me. And it kind of annoyed me to the point to where I didn't want to be around her, didn't want to go to my mom's house, that kind of thing. But I just, continued to listen to her and continued to spend time with her. And every time I would, she would just continue to pull.
Yep.
So finally, it got to the point to where I did go to church with her. And when I went, there was a guy in the class, in the little Sunday school class, that was on my basketball team. So I was like, well, if he goes, I can go. And he was a good athlete. So I started to go with him. And little did I know that I would meet Jesus there. People thought that I was a believer. I was pretty faithful at going, consistent.
Right.
For me, it was an escape. Like, I didn't want to be at home, so I could go to church. And it was just a group of guys I like to have fun with, and just started to go. And I remember my youth pastor asking me one day if I would share my testimony on Sunday. I didn't even know what a testimony was. So I started researching that, trying to figure out what it was. And I went to play in a baseball game in Warner Robins, Georgia at Simpson Park. And I made a few errors. I had a bad attitude. I made a few errors, showed my temper. My dad was my coach. He pulled me off the field, put me in a headlock, and said, "You are now your mom's problem. You won't live with me again."
Oh, wow.
And so for me, that rocked my world.
Sure.
So I did. I go home to my mom's house, and I mean, I was boohooing like a baby. Like, my dad doesn't want anything to do with me, and just trying to figure out what was going on in life. And I remember about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, I was sitting at my mom's kitchen table, and saw my sister's Bible and a book that she was reading, pulled it over and started to read it. And I learned then what salvation was, what a relationship with Jesus looked like. And it was there that I gave my life to Christ. And that was on a Sunday morning, technically. So just a few hours later, I was waking up, going to church, and share my, quote, testimony.
Right.
With my youth group, telling them that I literally came to Christ a few hours ago.
Because when they said, share your testimony, you said, well, this is going to be unique because I just got saved last night. Right. That is really cool, because a lot of people come to church for different reasons. Of course, you came for the connection to get away from some people come, cute girls playing the piano, or and the band or whatever. And right. God can use a lot of different situations to introduce people to Christ. That's for sure. Now, sports was a big part of your life. Tell how that connected, that connection of sports and ministry.
Yeah, well, like I said, with my parents being divorced, and my dad wasn't really diagnosed as a manic depressive alcoholic, but every indicator said that he was a manic depressive alcoholic. And so for me, sports was an escape. It was my safe haven. I could get up in the mornings. I could go work out. I could go, and I did this as a middle schooler and a high schooler, and just find an escape, fresh air, get away from mom and dad, get out from up under my roof, and I would do that all day long. But also my friends played sports, so that was kind of what pulled me there too. Is I felt at home there. So it played a big role before salvation, and it played a big role after salvation. It became my idol. It became what I worshipped. It became what I wanted to do, and even put it before my relationship with the Lord. And eventually, my senior year of high school, the Lord had blessed me with an incredible athletic ability, but I went to my coach and told him I was going to step away from playing that particular season, and he was like my second dad. Honestly, I just actually did his retirement party. It's got him Kevin Kinsler, that coach Northside football in Warner Robins. And he and we would butt heads more than probably anybody that you know, because he was a believer and he didn't like me, making some of the decisions that I was making. But I felt like it was Abraham and Isaac. I'm going to lay this ball down and I'm not going to play it anymore. And then honestly, God gave it back to me. Kevin Kinsler went and he changed our entire schedule to accommodate me not missing church. It was interesting. And I had an incredible year that year. I don't like to tell people this, but there's a guy by the name of Cal Daniels. He played in the World Series on the Dodgers. Oh, wow. He had our single season home run record at Northside, and I was able to break it that year.
Wow.
So even through that, the Lord was just good.
Now, was that your sport? Was baseball? What was your favorite sport out of all of them?
I would say baseball was the sport I had to really work at.
Oh, gotcha.
My parents they excelled in basketball, even at the collegiate level. So for me, I think the natural ability was there. I didn't want to walk in their shoes and then in their shadow.
Right.
But football was one of those sports for me where I was always in the right place at the right time. But I would say I was always in the wrong place at the right time because I was never where I was supposed to be. But my coaches were glad I was there.
I got you. Yeah. What position did you play in football?
In football, safety. I was a defensive back.
Yeah. Because Billy Lord and Billy is part of our church. He's our worship arts pastor. He and I go back 30-something years to Liberty. And, of course, I knew his family very well. And he was, I think he was free safety or something like that as well. Because neither one of you are huge. And I'm thinking, to play football, it's got to be one of those positions. I loved football and baseball and soccer, believe it or not. I played basketball because my dad wanted me to play all sports. Mm-hmm. But basketball, he reffed in basketball. He loved but I hated it. I was not I played tailback on basketball, all right? Get your tailback on the bench. That's what it was because I was so bad at it. You had a connection with FCA, correct?
I did. Yes, sir. And honestly, it was in school that one of my professors said, you need to find a way to let your two passions harmonize. You love sports, you love the Lord. Now, let's use them together to make a difference in the kingdom. And it was then that I said, okay, I need to figure out how to do this. So I prayed one time in a hotel in Amsterdam.
Oh, wow.
And said, Lord, if you want me to pursue sport ministry, you're going to have to open the doors. And I got back, and Kevin Hines, many people know him as Chappie. Right. He was Georgia's football chaplain at that time. And I had met him about a year ago, but he and I reconnected, and he had said, man, we're trying to find a chaplain for Valdosta State. Are you interested in that? And I just prayed a couple months ago about the Lord opening up the door, and here we are, and that's how we got to Valdosta.
So how long did you live in Valdosta, and what did that entail ministry-wise?
We lived there for about 4 or 5 years. We moved there in 2009. Kayla and I were just married. So we had our first 2 kids. We have 4. We had our first 2, Rylan and Reagan, in Valdosta. But we were over 14 sport teams. So basically, Our title was campus director. But a part of that was essentially you're going to do the football chaplaincy. Sure. But you're also going to try to start ministry with the other teams on campus. And that was the athletic director. His heart was whatever we provide for football, we need to do for all the teams. So we tried to carry the weight of that, and then we started to identify chaplains and got them. So we had about 8 team chaplains that were out there doing their own teams. And it was a very fruitful time of ministry for sure. We had a lot of fun in Valdosta.
You came to Eagles Landing from North Carolina. Tell us how that transition from Valdosta to North Carolina, how did that happen?
Yeah, our pastor in Valdosta at Cross Point Church, My wife was his assistant, and he had thought about the idea of, well, you're doing college ministry. What if you came to our church and did our college ministry? So we started that conversation. We mutually agreed that we didn't need to do that. And in that conversation, when I was telling him I just didn't feel like I was led in that direction, he said, well, you need to be a church planter. And I had never heard of that before. So for me, it was a new concept. It wasn't a new concept in the grand scheme of things, but for me, it was.
Right.
It was for me because I had a perception of church planting. Like, I didn't shop at Buckle. I had a receding hairline.
Yeah.
I didn't wear glasses. Like, everything that I thought of as a church planter, I didn't fit that description, right? So I ignored it. Well, I told my wife that conversation, and she was like, well, we need to pray. So we started to pray. We committed for a year, but about 6 months into that, we knew the Lord was calling us to go plant a church. And we thought in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we toured Atlanta, spent several days up here in the Gwinnett County area, and over Christmas break, we went to see my in-laws in Raleigh. And while we were waiting for a movie, we felt like the Lord was leading us there.
Wow.
And it was the diversity of the community. We
Sure.
looked around, man, these literally, like, people were like sheep without a shepherd. And we felt like, man, this is where the Lord wants us. So we started a church there about 6 months later.
Wow. What year was that?
That was 2013 or 14, somewhere
Yeah,
in that
I got you.
ballpark.
I got you. And actually, it did well because it's still going now. What's the name of the church there now?
It's called Restoration Church there in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
When you came and introduced yourself to the church and kind of met with people in small groups because the COVID-19 had already hit and we had to do all that in stages, that's one thing I loved about what your wife said more than what you said. Your wife seems a lot like my wife. My wife is way more, not that you're not spiritual, don't get me wrong, but my wife is way more spiritual than I am. She's in tune and hears things that I wouldn't hear, and she's like, you need to do this, you need to listen to this, or pray about this, or whatever. And one thing that when y'all were talking about coming here, and she's, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the way I heard her say this, she was talking about how, she's a little, I don't know about this, but when she heard about Eagles Landing, because our church, Eagles Landing, has a large Christian school, very diverse, with Muslims and I'm sure atheists and all kinds of people, because people nowadays send their kids to a Christian school, not really because of Jesus. They just want a better education and don't want to go to government schools. So you get a lot of lost, and it's like a mission field. And when your wife, I think that was one of the key things that really struck her. Said, look, we got to do this because of this is the whole mission field, just the school itself. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you are right. In fact, oftentimes she knows before I do.
Yeah.
I mean, often. We're stubborn, we're hard-headed. It takes us a while to catch up. The transition to Eagles Landing, I think I knew before she did. I didn't let her know that. I was prayerfully asking God to affirm it in me by letting her know this too. So I was just kind of waiting to see if she'd get there. And when we were walking to school on site, and she saw all the students walking through the hallways, because that was before they had dismissed.
Right.
She looked at me and said, "This is it. Like, this is where the Lord wants us." I mean, the diversity here. I could be in these hallways, loving on these teachers, loving on these kids. Our kids will all be here. She just knew, like, that for mother, that was important.
Oh,
So
very important, very important. And we have where we are located, McDonough, Georgia, is really just a suburb of Atlanta. I grew up here in a town called Stockbridge, Georgia, not far from McDonough. I live in the same house that I grew up in, so I've been here all my life. But I've seen it change. This was little farms and farmland, and now it's diverse and ethnicity of all types. And our church has that. And that's one thing that I loved about you, because I just hear a lot of stuff. I don't talk. I'm just kind of on the outside of everything, so I just hear rumors and stuff like that. But I heard that one of the first things that you asked is, why don't we have any people of color on the stage? And I have asked that. Of course, we do, because our congregation, our area has changed. And let me tell you, when I was reading, I think it was Matthew, where it talks about when every tribe and tongue has heard, then the end will come. And we've got nations here in this area that we could reach the world from this little town of Stockbridge and McDonough, Georgia. It's a big ministry. I mean, just with the school. I know for you, it's got to be a little. It would be for me a little overwhelming to come to something big like this because it's a good sized church and a good sized school, and that's a lot of meetings. I know already just to schedule this interview, you've had a lot of meetings that you had to rearrange and do this and that and the other to work it in. How's that affecting you? I mean, how do you handle all that?
Yeah, I know this sounds weird. I've been asked that question a lot, and I think the word I keep using is it's a fit. My leadership style is I love one to be collaborative, and
Yeah,
then two, I like to lead through leaders.
gotcha.
So for me, I'm just dependent on structure. So as long as there's leaders that are leading people, I'll just lead those leaders. And I think that when you come into a church this large, or the school this large, you have no choice but lead through leaders.
Right, right.
Back to what you were saying just a second ago about diversity, for an example. That I think that was one of the things that really pulled us here to Eagles Landing, to Henry County. We studied the demographics, and
Right.
we saw that it was changing, and we've longed. Our heart before coming here was that we would be able to even plant a church that looked as much like heaven as humanly possible. And we felt like, man, now the Lord's moving us into a place, but we were in a predominantly white area.
Right.
And we felt like, man, now Henry County is this, the demographics have changed dynamically, and now the Lord's kind of moving. He's prepared our hearts for this. So I think in every way, size of the church, demographics of the community, et cetera, I think the Lord just prepared us for it. I will tell you that I know stepping into this, I'm 100% dependent on Him. Like I can't lead this ship by myself.
Right.
So I'm just dependent on Him to lead it, and I'll follow His lead, and hopefully as I do, people will follow mine. And
Well, when Pastor Tim and I were talking last week when we were doing this interview, and I've been at the church since 1990, he's always said, where Jesus leads, that's where we'll follow.
Yeah.
And that's all. And I love that. And I've seen the church. I said this in the interview with him the other day, and some have already seen this, but I've seen the church grow, but it would kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And those down times, you could always kind of see, all right, we're getting off track here of where Jesus is leading, and we got to follow Him. But it's good to have somebody like you. And this is going to be the tough part, is him staying there. I was just in a church down in Orlando, a Hispanic church. I don't know, they run, about 4,000 or 5,000. And the new guy is the associate pastor, and he's about your age, and it was an older guy that was the pastor, and he is stepping aside, but he's going to stay there as a member, and he's going to be there. And the new guy was telling me, he said, I tell my pastor, he said, man, now once this transition takes, maybe you want to go on a sabbatical, go write a book or go do some revivals, that type of thing. And my wife said, it'll work if Pastor Tim will be like former presidents should be and keep their mouth shut, because there's going to be human nature. I don't care who it is that comes in, that especially a guy's been there for over 30 years. You're going to be preaching, you're going to be doing some things, and there's somebody in the church that's going to go to Pastor Tim saying, well, I don't like what he said there. What do you think, Pastor? And we talked about this, and I want you to know that he said, he's my pastor. We support our pastor. Keeping the word, the main thing. We got to keep the word. We don't deviate from the word of God. But other things happen. I'm sure there'll be times when I'm there and I'll look it down and say, why is Pastor Trey doing that for you? It has nothing to do with the Bible, but that's you. That's your personality. That's what you want to do, the way you lead. And it might work. I told Pastor Tim this. I said, some things you've done, I thought, that is just dumb. And it worked great. And I thought, man, he was right. And then other times where it didn't work, and I said, told you.
That's right.
But because people are people. And as a new guy, I tell folks all the time, don't put your trust in the pastor, because he's human. He will do things. His family will do things. We all do things that you hang around us long enough, we'll disappoint you. I mean, because
I'll fail you miserably.
We all will. That's why you got to keep your eyes on Jesus. But wherever He leads, we're going to follow, and I love that. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. The transition for your first Sunday to preach here for the whole church was the first Sunday they shut everything down. So you're preaching to an empty auditorium. What was that like?
Oh, it was strange. There's no way around it. We have received email after email from churches saying, how did y'all do this through all of this? So in many ways, we've been kind of the catalyst for teaching others and helping others know how to walk through a pastor search in the middle of COVID-19. Most of them have decided to delay it, but yeah, an empty room. This is the first time I had stepped in that room.
Right.
It's empty, and not only that, but I'm having to preach at a camera. Like,
Exactly.
all those disciplines.
You already got the TV ministry part down, because you know how to do that. That's the first thing.
It was tough. So we all became televangelists overnight.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But, we just made do with what we had. We felt confident in what the Lord was leading us to do. I think the church affirmed that. It was a great vote, and we're eager to get on the ground. I will tell you about Pastor Tim. One word that continues to come to mind over and over is his humility.
Yeah.
And just how he's characterized as that. And he's told me over and over, man, whatever you want me to do, you're my pastor, lead me, help me. And I think that says a lot about him. I think that if it were anybody else, I probably would have struggled with stepping into this role. But because of his humility, it made it so easy.
Right.
I will say this, there's been no doubt for me that he is my biggest cheerleader. Like, he wants me to succeed. He wants me to be in position to be successful. And he does everything he can to make sure that happens. So I appreciate him for sure in doing that.
And another thing about coming into a place like Eagles Landing, you've got a lot of great staff already. Some people come in and wipe them all out and start over with their friends that they bring in. But you've got good staff that if I were a young pastor coming in, I'd think, man, this is great. I don't have to train these people. They're already doing stuff. Now, as you get the feel of it and get in, a year or 2 years into it, there might be some things you want to do different, change. But, man, the structure's there. I would think, wow, I can concentrate on this, the word and getting that out and shepherding these folks. But I do love the passion about the reaching the cultures in our area, because we do lack at that. I mean, and a lot of churches do. And of course, I go to all kinds of churches myself. There's a lot of black churches. They don't want to go to a white church. I mean, that's just the way it's on both sides. But we want to reach the nations. Now, I want to talk about your family for a second, because I've got some pictures. I know you mentioned a little bit, but I want to put a picture up here. And the way this is going to look, because you're talking to me, but we're split screen right now. But on the left side of the screen is going to picture your family with your head still up there, but I want to show this. This was from, this is your whole family from Mother's Day, I think, is when you posted this. So you've got your wife, Kayla, correct? And then the three daughters, what are their names again?
Rylan, she's the oldest.
The oldest, okay. See her, yeah.
Reagan, and Reese.
And then the little boy that came along.
He's River. A
River.
lot of R's.
I love that. I love that. And I got a picture here. I'm going to put this up here, because your wife, I mean, she was like a little model there. Your whole family. They're like advertising for shoes. But tell her how that came about as I put these up there.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing them.
You're not seeing them, but I'm putting them up there. Like there was one on a tire. There's one there with, with all the flowers, and it's your girls, and they're looking up at her and that type of thing. And
so that's Rack Room Shoes. They do a real people campaign, and they contacted Kayla through Instagram and reached out asking, if we would come to Charlotte, spend a week with them in Charlotte, and basically just take shots all day. And for our oldest, our 9-year-old, the only reason we did that is because our 9-year-old loves like theater. She loves that kind of stuff, modeling and pictures and stuff. So we said, hey, this would get her feet wet, get her introduced to what it looks like. It's a real job. And so we said yes to it. By the way, it was the worst trip of my life. Rack Room, phenomenal. They did a great job taking care of us. But I had gallbladder issues while I was there.
Oh, my goodness.
Out of my life. The first night, we had our second child, Reagan, vomiting in the hotel room, and it was a mess. So we'll remember that trip forever. But nonetheless, they used more pictures of my wife and the kids than they did of me. So I don't know.
Right. I was looking through the whole thing, and there's two of you in there. And, I see why they kept you out of it. No.
That's right.
But because there's a couple of you in there, and I've got them up here now. And I even have the little video I played, too. There's a little video of them during the photo shoot.
We got enough shoes for a village out of that.
Did they give you plenty? Well, that's good. They gave a little perks out of that stuff.
That's right.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, since we're going through this whole coronavirus stuff and we're sheltered in place and can't do, because you still have not preached to the whole congregation yet live. I mean, you haven't even met everybody yet.
Yeah.
And so, when is the first Sunday? Do we have a plan for the first Sunday of that when we're shooting for?
We do. We're going to kind of slowly phase people in. You know, they have to register online to actually attend. And we're doing that to keep numbers where we need them to make it manageable through this. But then we're shooting, hopefully in August, we'll be able to bring everyone back to some sort of normalcy. But this thing has changed every day.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're changing our plan every day. We're going to unveil our plan as a church actually next Sunday, not Sunday coming up. I
Right.
don't remember what that date is, but the following Sunday. And I've told people, do you remember the football player Monty Towell?
Yeah.
Yeah, the linebacker from Notre Dame was in the national championship.
Right.
Well, the whole storyline leading up to that game, if you remember, was that there was this mystery girlfriend that he had that didn't exist. And I've told people here at Eagles Landing, I feel like that's what they've sucked me into.
That's
There's this church that doesn't really exist. I mean, I haven't seen people yet.
Right. Exactly.
But we'll see.
On the other side, we go, just kidding. We only run 50 people.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We got a nice building, though.
That's right. That's right. A lot of debt. Come on now. Well, you know, there was a church in McDonough, another church that I know of, another pastor. He actually has already started back, but they did a little different, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, every church has to do their own thing, do it differently. They said, you know, everybody that sits on this side of the auditorium come at 10 a.m. and spread out, and everybody that sits on this side of the auditorium come at 11 a.m. and spread out. You know,
they have to be Baptists.
Yeah, it is Baptist. It is Baptist.
To sit in the same place every Sunday.
Exactly, because that's what. Oh, they got their quilts and pillows and stuff.
Right.
You know, I take a pillow because I'm gonna sleep through the sermon. And I'm excited about having you here. I'm excited to see what God's going to do. And everything starts out. You know, we look back on things and we look at the beginning of something new, and we thought, man, why we do it that way? You know, we get our feet wet and get going. It might be a year or two before you find your groove and really going, but we're praying for you. And I know there's people that, you know, I do concerts with Billy, I do concerts with Matt and different ones from the church, and we've met a lot of folks from around the country. We always talk about Eagles Landing, and there are people, they watch our services on Sunday, and they're watching Pastor Tim, and that's the reason I wanted to introduce to you, because they're going to watch you now. And your message last week was great, by the way, and it was really, really good and easy to follow, and I love that. Now, what's something that you would leave people with, an encouraging word during this time that they might could take with them?
Yeah, you know, when we started this whole time together, we had talked a little bit about my family, and to kind of bring that back full circle. What I didn't share is that my parents, after praying through them as a new believer, my parents both came to know Christ, and they remarried each other my junior year in high school. So I got to stand, you know,
that is
as
awesome.
the best man
Yeah.
in my own mom and dad's wedding. But I say that because I think that whole situation taught me a lot about life. One, that in the face of fear, which is what we're walking through,
Right.
which is what my life was characterized by as a middle schooler. In the face of fear, God didn't run away from us; He ran to us. And I think just learning that, like, the gospel is always going to go forth. We just have to get a little bit creative about how we do it now, and we're doing a lot of that through the web. We're using our social media pages to try to, you know, tell people about the Lord and the hope in Jesus through that. So in many ways, you know, we serve a God who's extremely creative. He created everything, right? And He created us in His image, so we too have some creative ability within us. I think we're just tapping into that creativity that some of us didn't even know existed.
Right.
And trying to use whatever means we can to declare the gospel to the world. So I would just say push through it. This is hopefully going to be behind us soon. And once it is, I would rather us walk out of our front doors not in fear of catching a virus,
Right.
but instead walking out of our front door, stepping out in faith, knowing, hey, the Lord has work to do, and my time here's short. I don't know when it's over, and while I'm here, I need to make the most of the time that He's given me. So I would just encourage them to remember that, like, that we have work to do.
Right.
And
this has been neat. I wasn't doing this weekly show before this because, hey, I wasn't going anywhere. I had to do something. And
Yeah.
so I had a lot of friends that had been doing it. And they said, man, you need to do this. You need to do this. So we started doing this. And a lot of people are excited about it. And a lot of people are watching. One thing that we don't want to do is let this replace church. That's for sure. Because Hebrews does say we don't want to neglect meeting together, and we need each other. So when the doors of the church open back up, we all need to get there, and I think we're going to be ready. I'm excited about you being here, Trey, and I'm excited about your family, excited about the school, and just I would love to see revival break out in that school, and just a lot of people come to Christ and be discipled. But thank you. Welcome to back to Georgia. And you're close to, I guess, your side of the family now, right?
I am. I'm trying to get the others to move here.
There you go. Get them to move here. Get them to move to the Holy Land. Exactly. So, well, thank you so much, and we'll be praying for you and your family, and that God will continue to bless your ministry.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. Great interview with my new pastor. I actually did that interview last week. That's the reason my wife was watching on her pad. That's the reason she said, you need to think through that. I said, look, I wore the same shirt, so it would be. She goes, yeah, but your hair grew 2 inches. That was before my haircut. Then I got my haircut. But anyway, thank you, Pastor Trey Brinson. We're excited about you being at Eagles Landing. Next week, we're going to be interviewing. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm trying to put them in the right order. But Howard Greer is a person at our church, and I like to do people. We're going to do some well-known people and some people that are not as well-known because of their ministries and what they do, because that's what it's about. It's not about who you are, it's about who's in you and who you represent. And so that's the type of people I'm trying to bring on and expose to folks that you might not know of, that you can pray more intelligently. So, and Clinton Gortney, yes, thank you for your comment there. I appreciate that. I try to put these comments up during the interviews too. I don't mean to put them over people's heads, but I do my best. But thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget to please pray for little baby Jacob Finley. Keep him in your prayers. I'd appreciate it. And that's my wife's texting me saying, okay, you're done. Shut up. Nobody's watching now. But anyway, we're having a great time. No, she's not really saying that. It's time for lunch. She wants something to eat. So, but thank you guys for joining me. And I'm going to throw this up there one more time. I feel like I don't want to push it too much, but ScottDavis.com/donate. That would be great. So go there and check that out. I really appreciate it. And then last thing, every Monday, I'm putting out the Monday Mood Changer radio show. It's aired on radio stations across the country, all over. It's on an internet station too called High Praise Radio. And David, peace to you. I'm gonna call you a little bit, David. So hopefully you'll pick up. So some people program my name into their phone so they know when to hit ignore. But I hope you'll do that. But Monday Mood Changer is a 2-minute or less radio show. It's very short. Airs on I forget how many stations across the country, but it's also on Babby Mason Radio. If you go to BabbyMasonRadio.com every Monday at noon, and then also on High Praise Radio, those 2 internet stations. But if you go to ScottDavis.com, right at the top, you'll see a little donate button, but there's also a little subscribe button. And if you put your email address in there, then every Monday I will send that little radio show directly to your email box. So please sign up for that. It's short. I try to keep it short every week. Something, just a little comedy clip from a live show, and then I tie it in with some scripture and try to do a little devotion. As a matter of fact, my latest book, 42-Day, I Am Not My Own, Just Ask My Wife, that's the name of the book. It's 42-Day Devotional, was written from last year's 42 different radio shows. That's what it came from. So please sign up for that, ScottDavis.com, and subscribe to the email newsletter. And that way you'll get the Monday mood changer. And every once in a while, I'll send something else, And if you get tired of getting it, you can always hit the little unsubscribe button at the bottom and you'll be taken right off. So, but I hope you will join us and pray for us. Sometimes I put some updates about baby Jacob, about little things that are going on. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Love you guys. And next week, tune in at noon on Fridays. We'll have another show. So looking forward to it. Love you guys. Bye-bye.